What's up, friends? Nerdy Filmmaker here. A lot of times when people are starting off in filmmaking and editing their own projects, they're surprised by how taxing it is on their computer. Well, editing with proxies is a step that anyone with a slower computer, or even just people working with high quality 8K footage or whatever, I forgot what the beginning of the sentence was, but it's a step that you can take towards speeding up your entire workflow. So let's learn about proxies. So what does it mean to edit with a proxy? Well, when you get a whole bunch of new footage coming in from your DP or your director or whatever, and you plug it into your computer and it's chugging really hard, it's because you're working with the file formats that the camera produces, which are often quite heavy. They're really hard for your computer to read through. And so creating and editing proxies, what that means is that your computer, or sometimes even if you do this within the camera itself, is creating duplicates of all of the video files, but in a really reduced quality, a much smaller file size and bit rate, so that your computer can handle them really, really efficiently. And so if your DP has not provided you with proxies, one thing you can do is create that directly on your computer. When you import the footage, maybe one of the first steps you can do is to leave it overnight as it creates these new smaller files. So I'm going to show you how you can do that in Premiere. So as you see over here, I've got a brand new timeline, and I just brought on some random footage that I took a couple of days ago of all the snow falling, and I shot it in slow motion. That was pretty dope. That's pretty cool, right? Yeah, I think so. And so let's pretend that this was really hard for my computer to take. My computer is fast enough to be registering this footage right now, but let's say that it wasn't, and I'd want to create smaller versions of all these files so that my computer can run them with greater ease. It's actually really easy in Premiere, very, very easy. All you have to do is to right-click either the individual files like this, or right-click the folder over here that has all of your files. There it is, okay, and say Proxy, create proxies. Now, if you were given proxies, or maybe they became detached at some point, you can go over here and attach them. So if you already have them, but if you don't, and I don't, you can go to create proxies. And so over here, what you're gonna have is a format and a preset. Now, I tend to use H.264. I'm not quite sure. I haven't really ever used QuickTime. I'm using a PC, and I guess I always just lean towards H.264 when I'm not using a Mac. I don't know if that really makes sense. You're gonna have a few different options here. I don't mind working with lower medium resolution proxies. They don't have to be the highest resolution proxies, because in the end, what's gonna happen is that you're gonna edit on this, and at the end of your project, it's going to export with the original files. You choose your settings here, and then over here you can say next to original media in proxy folder, or you can designate an area. If you know exactly how you want to organize stuff, you can choose a place where these new files are going to be made, and they're going to be stored there. If you went to next to original media, then it's going to create a proxy folder in every folder that has this footage, and put those proxy files in there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to press OK, and now the computer is going to be opening up Adobe Media Encoder, and it's going to list out all the different videos that it needs to create these proxies for. So how's your day? Mine was all right. Did some things. Just hanging out, you know what I mean? You know what I mean. You're silly. So as you can see, it loaded up all these different files, and it's already going ahead and converting these into lower quality versions. These are not very big files or long video clips at all, and so if this was, let's say, an entire short film, you would set this up and let it run overnight, because it can take hours for each individual file to be converted. So we can see that they're all done. They've all got the check mark. Let's go back to Premiere. So if we go over here, we realize that nothing really looks different, except for the fact that if you have your proxy metadata stuff set up, you're going to see that they all say attached, and you're going to have the file name and the path over there. And so if I bring this into my timeline, right now at this point, we're still watching the original footage. But There is a button here called Toggle Proxies. If you don't see that, it's because you have to go over to the plus over here and add it to your toolbar. Okay, and it looks like these two windows and you just drag it on over, okay? And so when I click that and it's gonna turn blue, that tells me that now this has been switched to the proxies. And it actually looks very similar, right? Let me go to full screen here. It's really hard to tell the difference, especially because a lot of us play back at a lower resolution just to help, with speed again. And really, at this size, we can't tell much of the difference. If I zoom into somewhere in the details, let's say I go over to these bricks over here, which I don't even think I was focused on. So let's say I go over here and I switch this back to proxies and then full. I mean, maybe you might be able to see that, maybe not because of the YouTube compression, but I don't mind at all editing at this kind of reduced quality. Because in the end, when you go to File, Export, and you send it out, it automatically exports from the original footage. So you don't even have to necessarily remember to switch this back. So you remember how we chose that it's gonna save it next to the original files? Well, if we go to our Finder, you'll see that within our Finder over here, there's a Proxies file that's been made. And each one of these, and actually the total of these is 144 megs, while just one of these clips is 352. And each one of these clips now is a lower resolution. These are now 1024 by 540 as opposed to the full 1920 by 1080. So really the only time that you'll notice a difference editing with proxies is if you want to be zooming in. If you want to zoom in on a shot, let's say you shot in 4K and you knew that you want to punch in, that might be harder to recognize in proxies because proxies are inherently reducing the resolution. So you can maybe toggle out of proxies into the raw footage, do your zoom, cut it to where you want it to and it looks good and it still looks sharp, and then switch it back to proxies just by clicking that button. And it's going to speed up your editing process so much. When you're archiving a project, then you might want to decide, do you want to go back and delete the proxies just to save on space? When you have a large feature film or series, those proxies still can take up 50 to 100 gigs. But that's compared to like the terabyte of footage that you might have collected depending on what camera you're using and the codecs that are associated with it. That's it, friends. Proxies, super helpful. I don't use it for my YouTube videos because I shoot at a quality that I know that my computer can handle. But if you're shooting at the maximum quality possible for your feature film or for your project, then consider proxies if you're going to be doing your own editing. Thank you so much. If this was helpful, please like, subscribe. It was great to have you here. You look great today. Did I tell you that? I don't tell you you're beautiful enough. You are. You are.